All right, good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. This is a new initiative we're doing called Team Talks. And first of all, let me talk about why we're here. And it's the opportunity to just get out and share information, connect with you a little bit, give you a chance to hear about some key things from us. We're going to have some question and answer, questions that came from you, and just touch base. And it's something that we think is important, talk about where we've been, where some things are going, some initiatives that will be going forward as we work to be even more intentional about engaging our team and being the best that we can be. So that's what it's about. We're going to do this in about 30 minutes is our goal for the police department, because we know you all got to get on to more important things than this. I'm going to set my timer. Just a second. All right, that's going to keep me on track. And so we're going to go from here. So the agenda, we got 4 or 5 general topics we're going to touch on. Going to give Chief a chance to talk for a little bit about just some department perspectives. And then we have question and answer. We put out about a week and a half ago a call to city team members to give us questions. And we're at 10 pages of questions right now, so, which is great, but we're not going to go through all 10 pages today. That's good news too. But we're going to hit some highlights, hit some that came from your department, hit some that have some application across the whole city. But then we'll also share responses with everybody to every question within the next few weeks. So you'll see that as well. So we're going to make sure we answer everything. So that's what it is. Let me start here. This is a great slide because it highlights some of the success stories of the city of Franklin in recent years. And let me just highlight some things. AAA bond rating, we get rated when we have to go borrow money for big projects by these financial analytical firms, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, whatnot. And the highest grade you can get is a AAA. And we have that from both Moody's and Standard & Poor's. You do that across the country, there's probably maybe a little bit more than 100 cities across the country that have that kind of double AAA rating. So that's a huge compliment to our financial standing, to our stability and local economic vitality, and to the stability and structure of our governance, of our management. So that's a big compliment. We're proud of that. Top 20 city in growth for the United States, cities of 50,000 or greater in the last decade. One of only 2 Tennessee cities in that category. All-American city. It's exactly what it sounds like. Just like you have an All-American quarterback or linebacker or point guard, we're an All-American city. That means you are exemplary in what you do. You are held up as an example of a really good player. And as a city, we're highly respected. We received that recognition from the National Civic League. They've been doing this since the 1940s, and they're the first Tennessee city to get that recognition since the 1990s. So that's a big deal. Couple other things. Money Magazine consistently puts us in their top 10 of best places to live. They've been doing that for 40 years. That's a big compliment. So stop right there. There's not a city in Tennessee that has those 3 or those 4 things all at once, and we do, and we're proud of that. And then a couple things, just the local economy, despite all the upheaval and turmoil of pandemic and whatnot, Franklin has still thrived. Lowest unemployment in the country. We've had 6 corporate headquarters in the last 2 years, in the midst of all that, decide they want to make Franklin their home base. You probably saw last week In-N-Out Burgers putting their Eastern headquarters hub right here in Franklin. That's a big deal. I can guarantee you every state east of the Mississippi wanted that deal. And Tennessee got it, but not just Tennessee, the city of Franklin got it, and that's a big deal. And that's just an example. We survey our citizens, ask them how we're doing every 3 years or so. We'll get the new results in another couple weeks, but we consistently score top 10, top 20 in all the categories of that survey, which has done 600 plus cities across the country. So that's a compliment too. And that brings me to just thanking you for that. None of that is an accident, okay? All of that is a compliment to the quality of work that our team does, and you all are central to that. It is a success story. It's something we're proud of, but it's not something we're satisfied with. We want to continue to build and get even better, and you all are a big part of that as well. All right, so quick look ahead of some big things that are moving in 2023. And I could go on slide after slide on this, but I just wanted to highlight some things that I think are of particular interest this year. A lot of things going on around long-term planning, around growth, expansion of the city. We have the county looking at its growth plan collectively for the first time in about 25 years. So that's getting updated. Won't be probably significant changes except for the significant annexation that's happened in the southeast, down the Goose Creek area, which is also an area we're doing some additional planning for to just look at what that's going to look like from a land use standpoint, what we need to do to serve it effectively. And so we've had about 1,000 acres annexed in by property owner request in just the last 3 years. So that's changing the face of our city some too. Envision Franklin is our overall land use plan. That's going to also be updated, and that update process has started now already. So that's ongoing. Some big capital projects will be complete. Our water reclamation facility, our wastewater treatment plant, its expansion and upgrade, largest investment in the city's history, will be completed this year as well. That's a big deal in terms of both supporting growth, but also making sure we're taking care of wastewater and treating at the highest level in the state of Tennessee, which we do now and plan to continue to do in the future. And Franklin Road will be complete this spring, I promise you. Seriously, it's going to happen. And that is not the fault of our engineering team. Has actually done a fabulous job kind of working through all the difficulties with contractor, other issues, utilities, all these things to get creative to help us get to this point where we got pavement down by the end of the year and got to the point where we'll get it done this spring, but it will get done. And then big things moving forward in lots of projects, but I want to especially highlight in parks. We've got some kind of generational projects that are moving together at the same time. Just happens to be the timing of things. The Southeast Park, Bicentennial Park, all moving forward. Those bids will go out this quarter, and we've already got the bid awarded for the pedestrian bridge connecting Harlansdale to the multi-use path that's around Chestnut Bend, the high school, connects to the rec center, all that network. So that's a big deal. That's moving forward. City Hall project, I'll talk a little more about that later, but that, I think we'll get some clear direction on where that's going within this year as well. All right, so we always want to make sure we touch base on big things that we've worked on, and compensation has been a big one in the last year. I want Kevin to talk about that now.
Thank you, Eric. Good afternoon. All right, so I think you know this, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure you get it here. Every few years, 3 to 4 years, the city likes to do a comp study. What we do is we tighten up on your job descriptions, make sure we have those tight. We send it to the top compensation consultant in the state. He deals with most municipalities, Steve Thompson of Thompson & Associates. And what he does is he came back and told us that of the 275 positions, I know there are more employees than that, but 275 positions, 187 of them need to increase. And that's 68% of the positions that we have. They need to increase either 1 or 2 pay grades. I'll get more into the pay grades in a second. That affected 594 team members. That's 79 full-time employees. The lowest 2 pay grades, B and C, were eliminated. They were out of place, out of touch. So, next slide shows that, and I'm not going to go through every bullet point. We want to get to the questions. But as you recall, in December, we increased the pay ranges by 5%. Did the same thing in July of this last year. That impacted a lot of people. But think about it. If we move the pay grades up like this, what happens to the people who are paid right here? They're outside of the pay range. So we've got to move them up at least to the minimum. Well, we have to move them up to the minimum. Then all employees received an across-the-board market adjustment that raised each team member's compensation by 5%. Employees received a merit increase of anywhere between 0.5 and 2.5% based on last year's track star. And then the people, back to I was talking about the grades, if your position moved up a grade, you got a 3% pay increase. If you moved up 2 grades, a 6% pay increase. And then we looked at the salaries of all of our employees, and if your salary did not hit $90,000, everyone who didn't hit $90,000 got a $1,000 bump in their salary as well. Now look at what that bottom line says. It's in bold for a reason. Typically a budget will hit $3 million that does what we did. We spent $8 million. There's an $8 million investment in salary increases this last year to do all I just said. $8 million over when it's normally $3 million. That's significant. And why do we do that? Because we want to be in the 75th percentile, the top 25% we want to be competitive. We want to get the best employees we can get. That's the best officers, firefighters, office people. So that's our targets, to be at least in the top 25%, sometimes even higher than that. So that results in significant pay adjustments for many employees. But what does it also do? It also means that a lot of you who have more tenure, people who just came in, when the minimum just gets moved up and these pay raises, the line's a little bit flatter than we would think it would be with employees. You all have told us that. Several of you in this room have said, Kevin, look at that. We've looked at it, and Eric's going to now tell you what he's going to do about it.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, so I'm really excited about this part because I get to use a laser pointer. That's kind of cool. So where do you guys want me to stand? Here? Yeah. Okay, because I want to point at this for you. So the blue line was kind of where we were before we did the salary adjustments, and this is a real position in our organization, maybe even in this department. And it started here, year one, up to somebody who's at 22 years, and there's a spread of about 17,000. That was what was there before. So when we did the adjustment, and Kevin described it, when those grades change, you have people that need to get to the minimum, and so that caused the compression. And look at how that line flattened out, right? So that what had been a $17,000, $18,000 spread is now like $7,000. So that's the reality. You all know it. You all let us know about it, and that's right. And we said we'd get to it, and we have an approach to address it. I sent you all a video and a presentation in the middle of December that really goes into depth and walks through examples. I have those examples in here, but we don't have time to go through that. But I'd point you to that if you want to see it. But essentially what we did is we looked at that compression issue. We also looked, at, next to last bullet on there, at a commitment we made about 5 or 6 years ago to make sure we were getting our team members to midpoint by year 8 in position. Not with the city, but in position, okay? And that midpoint is representative when we do the pay plan of market for your job, okay? That's what the market calculation and that being in the top 25% of the market number is, and that's how we anchor every position. So we wanted to accomplish 2 primary things: address compression, recreate or add, make the appropriate spread, and make sure we're making progress at year 8 to midpoint. Okay, so these are those examples, variety of years. Let's look at, so this is what we just showed you. So there's year 8 right there at the bottom. X-axis, remember high school math, X-axis. Y-axis, the salary. So here's year 8. This person should be, this is a 7-year employee. They should be much closer to midpoint. They aren't. That's something we had to fix as well. So here's the change with the formula we've proposed. So see how that changes? Boom. So we're back to about an $18,000, $19,000 spread from the 22-year employee and the first-year employees that are clustered here, and we've recreated that slope. And even more importantly, there's this 7-year employees right at midpoint. This is a, little over 6-year employee. They're easily going to get to midpoint in the next year probably. All these folks, 4 to 5, right on track. So we restored both the spread and the hitting the benchmark of getting to midpoint by 8 years or sooner. So again, look at the change. That's what we did. Feel pretty good about it. It is an additional investment of about $500,000 in the general fund alone for the balance of this year to do it. So that $8 million just became $8.5 million. But it's the right thing to do. It helps us get there. And that will go into effect with the pay period that starts January 22nd. So you'll see that on your first paycheck in February. You're only eligible if you're in the position 3 years or more, because the folks at 1 or 2 years got major adjustments for the pay grade piece. This really takes care of folks from 3 years on and gets us there. There are some cleanups that are happening right after that we'll do that don't get addressed by the formula. The one specific example, we are doing a recognition for PO, police officer 2s, for some additional adjustment for time in position, because we know we created that position. We did a bump when that was created, but we did an additional years of service adjustment that we'll do that isn't quite this formula, but it does recognize that. Okay, so I'm done with the laser pointer, so I'm a little down now, but that's okay. And one other thing that might be really important in terms of our benefits package, the pension program got an update just in the last 2 weeks. And actually, this is a request that came from a number of your colleagues in the police department who said, let's look at that final averaging that happens for folks in the closed pension plan, where we average, depending on when you enter the program, your last 3 years or your last 5 years of service. That becomes the basis for what your pension's paid at. And the question was, or comment was, it's artificial to have to wait for complete calendar years. It forces this issue where everybody retires in December, which most everybody does. This might give some flexibility to the employee, and it might spread the retirements out a little bit, so it's not such a everybody leaving at once. So we looked at it. We talked with our financial advisor, our actuary on it, and brought it to the pension committee, and they approved a change to go to a rolling month calculation. So if you were a 3-year calculation, that 3 years has turned into 36 months. If you're a 5-year, that 5 years turned into 60 months. So it's the same period of time. It just doesn't box us into using calendar years. So that's in place now, effective January 10. So that's been done, and we're glad to do it, and thank you for the suggestion. It gave us a different look at it, and it may help the organization in that aspect as well. The board also adopted a specific policy related to inflationary adjustments for the pension folks. That had been done pretty regularly, but it's very generic in the plan, and we wanted to put a specific on it. So we studied other pension programs, what they do, other well-funded, well-run pension programs, not any pension program, and came up with an approach that fits that and actually is slightly more generous than what TCRS and some others do in making those inflationary adjustments. So I think it's time for a quick look at City Hall. I know you all aren't in City Hall as much, so we won't spend as much time as we do with some of the City Hall departments. But this has been a process the last couple years to look at what we need in City Hall. You see some of our really exciting things, like we know when it rains in that building. And some of you have been around long enough, used to work in the back end of that building, the Church Street side, so you know what that's about. But it's temporarily been a City Hall from being a downtown mall for 42 years. It's time to move on. And so we did a master plan. The board adopted that, that looked at our long-term needs. Quite frankly, budgetarily, that did not fit our budget for what we could afford, so we adjusted it. And it turned it down to about a 90 to 95,000 square foot building, so just a little bit larger than this building for our City Hall. We are entering the schematic design process. Along the way, just in the last month, had a little bit of curveball thrown in that we had an offer made to us by your neighbor to the south to swap property with our on the square property and the HG Hill site. So the board said, well, you know, we know those aren't equal value, but there might be something worth looking at of what would another downtown site or downtown adjacent site look like. Would there be savings there or enough savings there that warrants looking at it? So they gave us direction to kind of go in parallel for the next few months to continue schematic design, but also look at what a different location might look like. Okay, so these are our goals. The goals don't change. Efficient workspace, great public space, safe space for our employees, appropriate separation between where our workers are and where the public and where we interact with the public, and something that meets our future needs. This is actually a first look. If you're looking south from the square, this is kind of what, at least an initial rendering of what City Hall might look like in a scale that matches the old First Tennessee building, courthouse across the way. So that's kind of a first look of some of the design ideas. So that will continue to move forward, and we'll get some more direction there. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie. Jamie Ewald joined us last spring. She's working in human resources with a specific focus on organizational development. And so one of the ways we want to do that is hear more from you. I talked about how we survey our citizens, right? Well, we want to, and ask how we're doing. We want to ask you, how are we doing? And so that's going to be what this is about. So take it away, Jamie.
Okay, so you can see from the slide, we're going to launch our first employee survey in about a week and a half. So on January 30th, everybody's going to get an email with a unique link to go and take the survey. This survey is used by thousands of employers across the nation. Some other Middle Tennessee employers that use it are the Preds and the Titans, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Tractor Supply. So it's a survey that many organizations use, and we'll be able to see how we compare to other employers in the area. The big thing for you to know is that because it's administered by a third party, we don't hold any of the information that you provide to us. It's all housed in that third party site. So it's all confidential. And what that is going to mean to you is you're going to get a unique link. And the only thing that it's tracking is a departmental response overall. We just want to see by department, it did 80% of the people respond, did 2% of the people respond. It's really important. I come from a law enforcement family, so I am very aware that people in this room might feel very differently about any of the questions we ask than people in City Hall. And so we really want to hear what you think, because we're going to create a strategy around that. So if you want your voice to be heard, this is the best way to do it. Go to the next slide.
I want to confirm the importance of confidentiality. That is a priority, because we want to make sure that nobody's holding back because they think we're going to know who said what. We really want to know that, so that's part of that, and that's a commitment that we're making to everybody.
Yep, so we're going to release the results in the spring. You'll see what averages are. We're going to create a strategy around the feedback that we get. As you well know, when you survey 750 people, we're going to get a wide variety of responses, some of which are in conflict with each other. So we're going to do our best to find the areas where there's the most consensus or also has the potential to make the biggest impact. If 80% of the police department responds, you'll get free lunch. So there's more where this came from. And if you want to just preview what some of the questions are going to be, there's 30 questions, so it's a lot, but you might be able to buzz through them pretty quickly. They're on a scale of 1 to 7, strongly agree, strongly disagree. It'll ask you things, how you feel about your pay, how you feel about work-life balance, how you feel about your benefits, and that'll give us an idea of maybe some places that we can really celebrate, but also that we can address over the next year. So if you have any questions, let me know. There'll be some posters and some additional information sent out over the next week and a half. But please do take the survey. It would really be helpful to hear your feedback.
So I want to give Chief Faulkner a chance to just sort of give a department update or perspective. We're committed to confidentiality in the survey, but we're not above bribing you with food, okay? So do it. Please take it. We want to hear your voice. If you don't do it, you're letting somebody else's voice count more than yours. Think of it that way. So I don't know why we wouldn't have 100%. Challenge us with an incentive for 100% completion by the police department. I'll come up with something better than lunch, all right? Just, that's out there for you. Chief, I want you to share with your team.
Do I have to stand in the corner?
No.
I hate this thing, but anyway, I want to thank Mr. Stuckey and Director Townsell especially and his staff, because I've worked at other places, and I'll tell you, this is one of the few places I really felt like somebody listened to us and also was supportive of us. I have never gone to him with a request for equipment or people that he said no. So that means a great deal, and I want to thank you. Most of you know we're going to post Monday. Thank you, Mr. Townsell. Thank you, both of you, for signing off on the requisition today. But the posting will go live Monday morning for police officers, lateral entry, and it'll be for 3 weeks. And then we'll be testing February the 23rd and 24th. So spread the word. Most of the people, when they come in for interviews, we ask them, how did you find out that we're hiring? And they'll say, well, Officer so-and-so told me. So we appreciate you as recruiters. Thank you very much. I also want to mention, especially since Lieutenant Smalley's in the room, that this year we will be up for reaccreditation. It is our 7th reaccreditation. And last time, it was what, 3 years ago, Lieutenant? It was all during the pandemic and everything, and even with all of that, we received a meritorious certificate for meeting or exceeding all applicable standards. So that goes against all of the things that you do every day for the city of Franklin and the people that we serve. When Mr. Stuckey speaks about the economy and all the things that the city of Franklin is the best of, I always take credit for it. I say that the city of Franklin is very fortunate because I have a police department that works extremely hard. And I know I said this morning, you can build it, but people won't come if they don't feel safe. And that goes for all of the special events and all of the things that you do day and night on the streets of the city of Franklin. I'll also mention that I know Mr. Stuckey gets embarrassed, but you may or may not notice he wears a thin blue line wristband. And I gave Director Townsell one. Do you wear it? All right. We don't have to wrestle you to the ground because you're wearing it. So that also goes to show that they are very supportive. The last few years have been extremely hard on you, and I know it. And I'll just mention that last year, in comparison to 2021, you responded to 11,000 more incidents than you did the previous year. That shows how hard you're working. And you made over 380 DUI arrests. Impaired driving is an important issue in our city, not to mention all the psychological emergencies and the mental health crisis that our city and across the country is experiencing. So you work extremely hard. I'm your number one fan. You're the subject that I most like to talk about when I'm out in the public with people. I appreciate and value every one of you, and I hope you always know that. I'll turn it back over to you so they can hit the streets and get to work. Thank you.
So we're going to take about 10 more minutes and do some Q&A. I do want to add a little bit to what Chief said, and I shared this with the group this morning. I've been doing this 30 years, and, one level or another, city and county. And I will tell you, and you know this, this is probably the hardest time in that 30 years to be in law enforcement. It just is. But it's also the most important time. I don't know of a more impactful time to be in law enforcement as well, the impact you can have in a community. And so we're committed to providing you the training, the support, the equipment you need to do your job well. This city, as a community, as a city team, we have your back. Just know that. We're committed to that. All right, so let's do some Q&A. Like we said, we got 10 pages. We're going to try to hit some things. Jamie's going to be sort of our moderator, walk through those questions, and we'll answer what we can in the next about 10 minutes.
All right, so just a quick point of clarification. For the people who are getting a compression adjustment or kind of that cleanup, you talked about police officer 2, when can they expect to find out the details of that?
Sure. So you'll get a letter at the end of next week. It's kind of like the letter you get in July that says, what's your adjustment going to be? What are the, breaking it down. So it'll walk through what that compression calculation is. If you're eligible, again, 3 years or more in your position, you will get that letter by the end of next week giving you a breakdown.
Okay, so one of the questions that was submitted says, are there any plans to keep up with current inflation? It seems like the pay study catches us up, but we're behind when it gets to that point. Could annual increases keep us on track or closer to the threshold on the next pay study? And several other questions were related to just an ongoing commitment to high quality compensation. So if you can just speak to that on an ongoing basis.
Okay, so yeah, this is really the number one thing we do every cycle in the budget is we look at what can we do for our people, what's that look like, what's our capacity. If I'm being totally straightforward with you, the $8.5 million that we're doing this year was a big lift, but we know we can sustain it. I don't know what ripple effect that has into next year, but our first priority is going to be looking at what we can do for our folks. You'll know the last, probably 7 years, we've done a pretty consistent approach that was sort of half market in inflation adjustment and half merit based on performance. I think there'll continue to be some balance, some combination of that. And for most of the 14 years I've been here, that 2.5% allocation to inflation was pretty good. I mean, it was right on target, if not slightly above. Well, that whole thing has changed in the last year. That's part of why we did additional adjustments in January of 22. We did additional adjustments within the fiscal 23 budget, the budget we're in now. So we're sensitive to it. We're going to keep an eye on it. We want to maintain our competitive position, or if not build on it in the market. So that's going to be a major focus, and it is every year, and it will continue to be. We will do comprehensive pay plan updates every 3 to 4 years, but we look at it every year. We have department directors come to us. You all know we did some adjustments for police right as we headed into the pandemic. Wasn't planned that way, but we did it anyway, and we made some adjustments there. So we look at what's going on and try to make adjustments as we go along, and that's always part of our budget process and budget thinking.
Okay, so a question about performance evaluations. As you all know, they were due yesterday, your self-evaluations. So 2 of these actually came from police specifically, so I'm going to blend those together. We currently use TrackStar, which is a 5-point scoring system that is based on individual performance. Has the city considered a different system or philosophy? And also, can you speak a little bit about how those scores on those performance evaluations translate to pay increases across departments and in different divisions within the same department?
Yes, we've used TrackStar for some time. It's 5-point scale. We've tried to make sure that we educate the supervisors in terms of what the 3 is, what's a 5, what's a 4. We've had meetings to discuss that. We've had meetings at leadership to make sure the directors know how we want it to be. We want everyone to do it the same. Does everyone do it the same? No. But we're not going to penalize you if you're in a department that grades lower than other departments. Or in this department, which is the second largest department, if you're in a division that grades lower than others. So it's all within your division is how you get paid. Meaning, if fire were to have if they rank their people higher, it doesn't mean that they're better. If we allocated money that way, then they would get more of the money to allocate between their staff. That's not how we do that. So that's one part. And I also just touched on how we train. We're going to continue to do more training of our leaders at the highest level of the leadership team, also at the level of people in this room to make sure you get it. We did a great job of training. We're told, we think, prior to the pandemic. We're going to resurrect that again now that we're through it and have more training to make sure. That's one of the topics that we address is how well we do with TrackStar. Are we looking at changing it? I think Eric said earlier, we've got 2 more years on this contract. It's doubtful we would change from it, but we probably have to learn more about why we would want to change before that decision will be made.
So, yeah, I think Kevin touched on a lot of things. One of the things I'm intrigued about, I've always been intrigued about, is are there ways to do some reward or recognition for team type achievements, not just the individual, because we do so often work in a team setting, and how do we recognize that? It is an ongoing challenge. I'm a person that has often read all 750 evaluations in this organization and seen the score distribution. And there are differences. I mean, honestly, police department rates a little higher than a lot of departments. So how do we handle that? How do we say the top performer in engineering should only equate to somebody who's maybe below the average in police? That doesn't seem right either. So that's why we segment it within the departments and try to be as consistent as we can within departments. We've even done some modifications to sort of equalize when there's a significant rating difference among supervisors. So it's something we're conscious of. We look at. It's a training issue. It's a how are we using the tool issue, and something we'll continue to look at and get better. We're getting better at it, but we're not where we want to be quite yet. So that's something we're sensitive about paying attention to.
Okay, and so the last question for today, again, we'll get you a communication with all the questions and answers, but in interest of time today, the last question is, several people submitted questions about the culture within their department or in general with the city. Can you tell us how you are thinking about building a healthy culture and fostering employee engagement? As an example, one question specifically asked about mental health awareness, leadership norms, and improving communication.
I'll start off. I'm sure Eric will have more to add. A couple things. EAP, it wasn't what we needed, so we upgraded to a new EAP, and we have Uliance. Here we also have someone on site to help you as well. We don't have that everywhere. Eric is talking to us about maybe we should have it in other places, but we have that here. Another part of the question deals with, remind me the other part of the question.
Mental health, leadership, and communication.
And memory loss, yeah. Culture in general. Well, what we're doing now is going to help us with our culture because we did a little survey and we're getting your questions in. That's helpful to help us create the right culture. Plus the bigger survey that Jamie's talking about that everyone has to do. We've already told you we were looking for 80 to 100% people completing the survey out of this department. That's going to help us stay in tune with how do you feel you're being treated. And that way we can remember that when we do I told you a minute ago, we're going to do more supervisory training. If we see their lapses, we can start to encourage people to do better in certain areas because we want you to be treated great. We want you to get the best employees. It's not just through compensation. It's also about how you're treated.
So, yeah, the culture piece is really important. And that's part of why we're here. That's what the survey is going to be about and some of our efforts going forward and our focus that Jamie's helped bringing to us in terms of organizational development. It's to be more intentional. The slide I showed you early on with all those benchmarks of success, those are good indicators, and those are very good. And those are indications that we're doing a lot of things very good. But I'm not just satisfied with very good. I want to be great. And how we do that is we are more intentional about engaging you, engaging our team, thinking about how we do these things more effectively. All of us get evaluated on 5 qualities: excellence, commitment to excellence, innovation, teamwork, integrity, and being action-oriented. Those 5 are probably not going to change, but we want to look at how we do those even better and how we support you and what can we learn from each other. Because all of us are smarter than any one of us, all right? So that's why we want to collectively engage you more and build from what I think is a really good point, but to continue to get better and be intentional about that. We are in public service. We want to be the highest performing local government, not just in the state of Tennessee, but anywhere. And we want to be building a community that is as desirable as any place in America. And that starts with us. And I want to make sure we're committed in supporting that. And that has a lot of different facets to it. But it's work worth doing, and we're committed to it. And I want to thank you for everything you do to help make it happen. So I think that's our time. And thank you, everybody, for your time today, and thank you for everything you do. Thank you.